Hey, hi guys. Thank you for coming back from the break. Some of you. I was very thrilled to hear all the session before because we talked about design thinking, we talked about testing, we talked about developers. And one of the important things that we would like to show you is a real life story that will take you through that journey in our journey of Bankaroo.
Okay, so let's start with who we are. My name is Danielle Gafni. I am 13 years old, and 2 years ago, I became the co-founder of Bankaroo, a virtual bank for kids.
And I'm Etay, or extra proud dad, also an entrepreneur. On my day job, I'm running a startup called BrightAct, which makes marketing material trackable, allowing people to really do content marketing a different way. But at night, like many developers, I'm working on something else that I'm passionate about, which is Bankaroo. So what is Bankaroo?
Well, for kids, Bankaroo is a way for them to experiment and learn how to use money wisely by receiving an allowance, saving up for goals, and budgeting.
But for parents, it's also a tool that helps you to educate your kids to be money smart. You don't want to be that problem, you want to be part of the solution. And in the Silicon Valley and all around the world, kids are using technology. So our goal was to build something that uses technology but will make parents very integrated into the process of learning for these kids.
So, how did we come up with the idea for Bankaroo? Well, Mario already told you the beginning of the story, so I'll just say it again. I got the idea when I was at a store with my dad, and we were looking at things to buy, and I wanted to buy something with the money I earned from washing the car, but I didn't have it on me, so I asked my dad if I could use it, but he said I already used it for something else. He didn't know what it was, I didn't know what it was. We were just standing there looking sort of confused, which is when I realized that other kids might have the same issue, and the idea for Bankaroo was born.
Yeah, so unlike Mark was saying that this is how you start a startup, we actually spent 10 minutes doing research and looking for apps like that. So just for the record, Mario. And we couldn't find one because all the apps that we looked at were from the parents' point of view. All the apps were money management either for parents, for spouses, and for kids, but from a parent's point of view and not from what we would like to do. So we created Bankaroo. So now what we'd like to do is to show you a quick demo of some of the things that Bankaroo does, and then we get into the details. No, they promised me the video would run. Can we make the video run, please? Okay, never mind. So let's imagine an amazing app that teach your kids how to be money smart, that teach them how money does not grow from tree. Oh, and thank you. And one of the things you can see here is that we built an interface that really allows the kids to do everything by themselves. They are accountable for spending the money, to checking the balance. They also can allocate funds towards goals, towards memberships, and all kinds of things like a real bank does. The main difference is that everything is virtual, and we'll explain why in a second.
Okay. Bankaroo by the numbers. So, using our entrepreneuring skills, we managed to receive members from over 77 countries, and we managed to translate our program into 10 different languages using the help of our communities. We also support 17 currencies worldwide, and over 60 schools use us in their 3rd to 5th grade curriculum for financial teaching. We also try to help parents educate their kids about money by posting over 200 blog posts on our website.
So as you can see, we developed a real program, a real service, not just an app, that will help families to teach their kids about money. Enough about Bankaroo. What we would like to do now is to share the story of the journey and also to tell you what we have learned during this journey and give you some tips how to become an entrepreneur or how to do it better than us. So first of all, you have to think big, because you're going to spend a lot of time and efforts, like my friends already said, doing something. Be passionate about it. It has to move the needle. It has to change the world. It has to have good karma. It has to be big, otherwise, why bother?
Focus and act on what you can do. You don't have all the time and money in the world. Making sure you stay within your resources to build an efficient and simple product will help you get more customers and save you money in the long run.
We mentioned design thinking and being agile and lean. In our world, what it means is that you need to define, you need to test, you need to improve. And we'll show you a few examples on that.
Spread the word and listen to feedback. Get the word out there in as many ways as possible, even if it means guerrilla marketing. Also, listening to the feedback helps, because then you don't know how to improve your product without it.
And speaking of help, get help, right? As an entrepreneur, you probably need one. And also get help from people to do the marketing and work with partners that share the same passion, the same goals as you are, because it's very hard just to do it by yourself. And let's show you some examples. So thinking big. So who of you recognize the picture? You should come to Silicon Valley. Oh, we have some people from Silicon Valley. So in Silicon Valley, there is an area called the Dish. It's in Stanford. And it's a hilly area where you can walk. It's about a 5-kilometer walk. And you can see all the way from San Francisco to San Jose. You can see the whole Silicon Valley. And this is where Danielle and I take long walk, and we just talk about big ideas. It's a great area where you can be inspired. And also see little animals and people running with Starbucks cup. But this is a different story. The big idea has to be something that you feel passionate about and you would like to achieve. For example,
our big idea was to become the finance app for families. In order to do this, we decided that we don't know what platforms the kids have their hands on these days, so we just made Bankaroo run on every platform possible, which means every PC and smartphone connected to the internet.
This is just to show you an example of how you can think outside of the box and take limitation and make them advantage. Because we didn't know to what platform to develop first, we developed a solution, a hybrid solution, HTML5 plus native, that allow us to run on all platforms, while our competitors or other players in this market were focusing only on one community of developers or on one platform. And this allows us to reach the variety of kids around the world in 77 countries, and not just in the US.
Also, focus and act on what you can do. Like I said earlier, time and money don't grow on trees.
Oh, lesson learned. You heard that here, first time. Money do not grow on trees.
Okay. In order to not go into serious debt later on, you should narrow down your big idea and work on several topics using as little time and money as possible while still making the quality very good, still keeping good quality. One thing that really helped is the 30-second rule. Some of you may know it as the elevator pitch. The story goes where you have this great idea for your company and you meet your boss on the elevator. You have about 30 seconds to pitch the idea to your boss between the 3rd floor and the 10th floor. We renamed it, called it the 30-second rule, and now it's a rule that if you can't explain a product or an aspect of the product in 30 seconds or less, it is too complex, and you might need to make it multiple components.
We're also using a lot of sticky notes in order to write the ideas for the product, for the feature, and the idea had to fit into a small note, so you won't make it too long and too complex. So such ideas for us were important. For example, easy setup was a key component for us. The ability for parents to create kids' account and for kids to manage their account, as well as manage allowance from anywhere in the world.
We also wanted to teach kids about goals and savings. So we made it so easy to set up goals that it would actually encourage the kids to save up for the things they wanted. And we reward them with badges afterwards.
Yes, so we enter some gamification concepts into Bankaroo, really to make the kids hook into doing positive activities like saving towards goals.
Be agile. Define, test, improve. This is a cycle that you constantly want to repeat throughout the basis of creating your product. First, define. Nobody knows what you're building until you tell them. Then, test out your product. For all you know, there might not even be a market for purple-spotted genetically modified llamas. Finally, improve the product based on the feedback you receive.
And to give you an example, I'm going to give you 2 examples for this process that we did with Bankaroo.
The first one would be the kangaroos on the website. When we bought the domain name Bankaroo, it was sort of obvious that we were going to make kangaroos into our logos. So what I did was I sat down at the Starbucks one day and I drew basic kangaroos on this piece of graph paper. As you can see, not that great, but still. We scanned it and sent these to friends and family, and they approved the design. They thought it would be a nice addition to the website, so we got it more finalized. Now, this version is what we put on our prototype, more on that later. And we sent this out beyond our friends and family members to other families out there who were willing to test our product for us and help us improve it. These people liked the designs, so we kept them and colored them in, which is what you see on the Bankaroo website today.
So this is an example how you put the less effort possible in order to validate something, and then you gradually spend more time and efforts to make it perfect. Another example is, I'm missing a slide here. Okay, another example is prototyping. So before we developed the application, before we had any code entered, we created prototypes using web applications, and we shared it with people until we got 50 users who approved the basic flow of creating an account, be able to add and remove funds. We had to have these 50 people because our CFO, Danielle's mom and my wife, did not approve the project financially until we showed that at least 50 families are interested. So it's important to do prototypes in order to get funded.
Spread the word. Some of you may not have enough time and money to spend on advertising. Well, we personally use any way we can to get the word out there. We even like to go to the Apple stores near our area, because it's Silicon Valley, and go on all the iPads and download Bankaroo on the homepage. So whenever everybody opens the iPad and sees all the games and stuff, they also see Bankaroo and wonder what it is. Sometimes we get caught, sometimes we get away with it, but...
Yeah, the trick is you have to do it every day because they kind of clean it every night. So come early in the morning, put your app on the desktop. The trick is that you need to have HTML5 version, so you bookmark into the homepage. You don't need to really install things. Another advantage with a hybrid app. So we listen to feedback, and for us it's very important to stay close with our community because they're parents and they're passionate about what we do and their kids. So these are some of the examples of comments that we get on a daily basis. 2 of them, the new one I added below, we had a user from Sweden that asked for Sweden krona as a currency, and we had a person from Brazil asking for the application to be translated to Portuguese. Our answer for him was, would you help us? And he's actually working now on a Portuguese version of the app, and that will be ready in a few weeks.
That brings us to our next point. Get help and work with partners. You can't change the world by yourself. You need as much help as you can get, whether you're partnering with other companies or asking things from your community. One example was relevant to the last slide. All of the languages in Bankaroo were translated by volunteers, friends, family, and complete strangers.
We also partner with other organizations that either teach education, financial education, like Parenting 2.0 and others, or just talking about technology with kids. And we try to speak at their conferences and address their members in order to reach a broader audience.
We're also part of global initiatives. As Mario said, we recently won an award from the UN for finance, and just last week actually, which shows that Bankaroo is making an impact not only in the United States, but also everywhere else in the world, or at least 77 countries.
And what's nice about it is that they found us. They heard about us from people in Netherlands, and this is how it all started. A different group that we worked with last year was One Laptop Per Child. They heard about us from people from France, and they partnered with us, and as of last summer, all the new devices they released, the new tablets, had Bankaroo pre-installed on them, which allow us to reach a lot of kids in Africa and in Asia.
There are many more product tips that we lived by in order to create Bankaroo.
Let's talk about focus, right? When you're building a new product or a startup, you get a lot of noise, right? Sometimes it's your mother, if you're a young developer. Sometimes is your investors. I see you smiling, that's right. You have to stay focused. It's going to be noisy over there. So have your vision and stay focused on that.
Also, set priorities. Don't do all the fun stuff in the beginning. Find what is the most important aspect of your product and build it first.
Now, startups are very limited in money, but even more with time, right? There is a lot of pressure. And one of the things you need to learn is to work within your budget and your time frame. Define KPIs, define milestones that will show your success, and make success after success with the budget you have. It's much better to do that and learn in the process than to spend too much money and fail at the end.
Build wireframes and prototypes to test your assumptions. This is very important when creating a new feature or even a new product. If you get a prototype out there before typing a single line of code, it'll save you both time and money if you find out that the market is not ready for this type of application.
And also use visual aid. Like we mentioned, and some of my friends mentioned, people are very visual. They like to see tutorials, they like to see videos, they like to see presentations. Make sure that your product is very easy to understand by providing all the visual aids to support that.
Listen to feedback, but don't lose focus. Like my dad said, there's going to be a lot of noise in the startup world, and you're going to get a lot of feedback. Some of it will be good, some of it will be not good. But you have to maintain focus throughout. This means focusing on the more relevant bugs rather than the obscure little details that only some of your customers may want.
Yeah, and the community is going to get noisy. So many years ago, we had a young community member named Mario, back in the SAP days, that commented a lot of things, and I had to block him. So this is how I met Mario about 10 years ago. Let's talk about fighting. It's a day-to-day combat, right? And don't die for a bad idea. Fight for a validated good idea. Like my friends mentioned earlier, you have to validate your concepts and then fight for them. You don't have enough resources, you don't have all the support in the world. Make sure you don't let a good idea pass you by. But if it's not a good idea, let it go, because don't get married to it. Get married to a real wife.
Okay. Thank you for watching our segment, and we hope to talk to you during the break.
Thank you, guys.